Hello, this is Alex Calvo Garcia. You're listening to the Iron Hour podcast.
Right, hello, Iron fans. This is the Iron Hour podcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, whatever platform you've joined us on. As I suspect you can already tell, I'm not Andy Barraclough. He's away on dad duty this evening, so I'm your usual, slightly more ginger, slightly less skinny, stand-in host. So thank you very much for joining us, as I say. But I'm delighted to say that I'm still joined by everybody's favourite pizza chef. That could only be Marco. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Still on the ride. And long may it continue. Butler ball in full flow.
Excellent, excellent. And how could I top everybody's favourite pizza chef, but the people's princess himself, everybody's favourite train driver, especially when he's going past Glanford Park and he's giving it the big horn, and everyone at once goes, "That's Gareth."
Always got the big horn. Always.
Couldn't have put it better.
Yeah, driving trains, it's good.
Couldn't have put it better myself. Thank you very much for joining us, both of us. So we've got an action-packed podcast for you tonight. We've got 2 games to review. We've got 1 game to preview. We'll have an FPL update from Marco as well. I'm also thrilled to say that we'll have an exclusive update from Michelle Harness, which we'll talk about later on today. We've got all of the questions that you very kindly sent us on Facebook. So thank you very much for that. We really do appreciate the questions because, we want to be about fan involvement. We want to get the fans involved. So if you think of any more questions that you want to see us do at a future podcast, come and grab us at a game, home or away, or bung us a message on Facebook, follow us on X. We're always very happy to have your questions. So thank you very much, folks. But anyway, let's crack on. So the first game we've got to review was the home victory, the procession against Marine. Well, maybe not a procession, but a 3-0 victory. Gareth, you were there. Did you enjoy it?
I would say session. I'm not too sure. I thought Marine played well. Say they've just come up. I know they beat Macclesfield last season to secure that promotion. But no, I thought they gave a good account of themselves. I will be honest. I know the scoreline makes it sound better than it was for us. 2 of those goals were late on. I think it was down to tiredness, fatigue on their part. But, they gave a good account of themselves, and I was impressed with what I saw. And I think they will, beat some of the other bigger teams, or at least get a draw out of them.
What do you think was the difference in the end there? Obviously, Gareth, you mentioned that a couple of the goals came late on. Do you think fitness was a factor?
Yeah, definitely. I think, the first half, Marine were in faces. They were chasing, closing down. And, I think I said in the vlog that at the time that, I think that could bite them later on in the game. I've been, knowing what our fitness levels are like and what they're at. So to do that for a full 90 minutes as a part-time team, I think, caught up with them.
Yeah, and that's an excellent chance to plug Gareth's vlogs and YouTube if you're not already familiar. Iron Army HD. He's usually doing one from every game, home and away. So do make sure you give him a follow and a subscribe and a like and all that good stuff if you haven't already. And that'll be where you could get our podcast as well. So definitely make sure you follow Gareth if you haven't already, Iron fans. Marco, obviously Gareth there has mentioned about the fitness and the pressing football maybe being too much for a part-time team over 90 minutes. So I want to ask you about a couple of rule changes that the National League North has seen so far this season that came in over the summer. The first, obviously, is the 4th official. So hopefully there might not be as many controversial incidents that get missed if there's an extra pair of eyes from the officials. But also now, both sides are allowed to make 5 substitutes per game. Do you think that'll help or hinder the Iron over the course of the season?
Yeah, I love how Gareth mentioned fitness and you come straight to me.
Like, you can get vegetables on pizzas as well. It's 1 of your 5 a day, bit of tomato base.
But yeah, no, I think me, along with quite a few people in the, I'll shut my window because there's a very large vehicle passing. But yeah, I think me, along with a lot of other people at the Brackle game, when we actually made the 5 subs, were actually quite surprised. I don't think it really got detailed to the fans that clearly that was an option we had now. It's an option that I wish we'd have had last year with the bench that we have at this level, I'm sort of sick of saying it, but last year, obviously, we had Whitehall and Elliott competing for that number 9 spot. Elliott walks into any other team. We had 2 or 3 players for every position, and we were spoiled, like we said last week on the pod. We have trimmed down our squad now, and we're hoping it might be a good thing, but we're still putting a very good 5 subs on the bench. It's like I was watching the other day with my dad, and I said, these 5 subs coming on would all be their best player. Which is such a good luxury to have, and one that can only help us going forward. With the 4th official, I think anything to make it as at this level, every team, not just Scunthorpe, anything that we can make it at this level to be as close to a professional game as we can is only a good thing. And again, it's something hopefully we want to be getting used to, because we want to be back in the National League. So we want that to be the norm. It's great that there's some volunteers, but referees are few and far between now, because it's not the greatest of jobs. So the fact that we've managed to get 4th official across the full league, National League North and South, is a great thing. And no, I'm all for it. But yeah, the 5 sub rule, I think it really benefit us this season. Could even be the difference between a playoff spot or even a promotion spot.
So just on the 5 subs rule there as well, I wonder if one perhaps unintended consequence of it will be that more sides would be inclined to not have a goalkeeper on their bench, because if you're thinking, I mean, even if you're a part-time side and you're thinking fitness might be an issue, an extra pair of fresh legs in the middle of the park could make a difference. But unless you're Stuart Pearce chucking David James up front, you're possibly not going to think about putting your goalkeeper on. So I don't know about you, Mark, but it'd be interesting to see if that's something that carries on for us this season.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's bad news for goalkeepers, but I do think if we're bringing that 5 sub rule in, the sensible thing to do would have been to make the bench 7, like it is at the level above. I don't really understand why that's not came into it. But then again, look, over half this league's part-time. A lot of them don't have that squad to put 7 on the bench every week. So that's maybe why. But yeah, for us, 7 on the bench would have been great. And obviously, we could have had a keeper as well. But 5 subs, and so far, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we've made 5 subs every game. I think we've took advantage of it every game. So yeah, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. If anybody wants to fact check Marco, please feel free. And if he's right, keep it to yourself. But if he's wrong, I absolutely want to know. Facebook, however, let us know, because I promise you we'll come back to it in the next podcast we do. No, I think Marco's right, but I'm not prepared to put my last fiver in the world on it. So that brings us very nicely on that discussion about squad depth and rotation and substitutes to Tuesday's game. And on a personal level, it felt quite poignant on the drive back from sunny Suffolk, that well-known northern county. After we'd played Needham Market, I had quite a poignant moment with another Iron fan in the service station, where we were talking about just how many Iron fans had passed away in pre-season and over the summer. I know we've just had Wally Reed's funeral, Brian Middleton, Ashley Mitchell. It was really great to see John Staff's wife there on Tuesday night as well. So I hope that wherever they are, whatever they're doing, and certainly a few family members were brought a couple of smiles, because that was certainly a trip that I know a great number of Iron fans who are sadly no longer with us would have enjoyed. So hope they were smiling somewhere. Anyway, on that cheery note, but an important one nonetheless. It was an important win down in Suffolk on Tuesday night. Gareth, I know you were there. You had a great vantage point. It was a very funny block on Tuesday night. It looked like there was a couple of Scunny fans who'd had a couple of shandies, shall we say. What did you make of the Irons' performance?
Hard work. Right, we seemed laboured, I'll be honest. And that's not just down to us playing as we played, but I think Needham Market as well. Another team that are being promoted. And I was speaking with Dylan during the first half, and he said they're all right, these. And he says they're up for it. I said, yeah, I think they are. And I said, it's to them, is it another cup final? I think last season we were playing teams that we'd not played before, and it felt like we were their cup final, and they upped the game. And I thought the same type of a thing Tuesday night as well, that Needham Market upped their game. The game was a good game, I'll be honest. Yeah, it wasn't great that first half, especially. But the second half, once again, I think fitness told, and with making the substitutions, as you say, and bring them on at the right time, fresh pair of legs, and they've got substitutions as well. But I think the quality of play that we're bringing on, as opposed to the opposition, makes a huge difference as well. If it wasn't like we brought Carl, and ultimately he wins the penalty, or was it a penalty? Wasn't it a penalty? But yeah, I think the quality of play that we can bring on off the bench is a massive, massive thing for us in this league.
Yeah, I think you're bang on the money there. Really, we did look more threatening after the substitutions were made, but also Needham Market did look well up for it. I mean, there was a really good crowd there. I think was it 925. Yeah. I want to say, there was more home fans there than there was for their home opener against Southport. Not just more away fans, even though it was a Tuesday night. So I think their fans were up for it as well. They were making a good racket behind the other goal, and had it finished 0-0, I think obviously whilst Iron fans would have probably been disappointed, I don't think too many of us would have come away complaining. I don't know about you, Marco. What did you think? What was an upside of the performance? What were you pleased with?
An upside, I don't think we, barring the last 5, maybe 10 minutes, we didn't really look like conceding. I thought we did control the game. I just think at points of the game, it's very sort of needs must route one, which is fine at times, and it's something we've not always had. But yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of people on Twitter saying it's one of them we wouldn't have won last year, and I slightly sort of edged towards that. I don't think we would have won it last year. Obviously, Whitehall hit the bar, hit the post, did everything but score until the penalty. I do think that was probably Whitehall's best game of the season. I thought that suited him. We did have a lot of the ball, a lot of pressure. And the thing is, I think it's very good to win ugly. And a lot of people saying on social media stuff, saying they are a newly promoted team, same as Marine. But them games need winning too. And I think Needham Market will surprise a couple of teams down there. Obviously, we don't know if it's People's Cup finals and we give it that extra 10%. But I do think they'll be tough to break down. They've had a good shape. Yeah, but look, it's going to be tough for them being that far down south in the National League North and been dealt a really shitty hand, similar to a couple of teams last year. But yeah, no, I think they'll be okay, and I think Marine will be okay as well.
Yeah, and it is worth pointing out as well that if Needham Market did win their league last year, and their home record last season in the Southern Central, it was absolutely imperious. They were unbeaten at home all of last season, and I can certainly sort of see why. They definitely didn't roll over. I think going away from home to places, particularly up in the northeast or the northwest, on a cold Tuesday night in February, might be more of a challenge. But honestly, Marco, I think you're bang on. I could definitely see them taking a couple of scalps at home this season, and some other fans might be surprised. But I think a few of the Iron fans who made the trip on Tuesday might not be that surprised. So yeah, I do just want to pick up on your point though about that we didn't really look like conceding. I think one person who's maybe slipped under the radar a little bit so far this season is Ross Fitzsimmons. Obviously, in terms of the vote for man of the match, both on the supporters coach, but on Twitter as well, Gareth. Ross won man of the match.
He did.
It was a big save at 1-0.
It was a massive save at 1-0, That creeps in. It's 1-0. But, he's got to make those saves. And, I think, and I go on about quality of players again. There's another player that you would think shouldn't be playing in National League North. And that's what we've got. We've got quality throughout the team. And we've got to sometimes rely on that quality as well, making that save. But also right at the death as well. They hit their crossbar, didn't they? Which I don't think they got to. So I couldn't have begrudged him if they had scored. Like you said, they put in a good performance. And, if it had gone away 0-0, fans would have been like, it's 0-0 against Needham Market. But I think, they'd have been absolutely gutted that they didn't get anything out of that game. And Ross Fitzsimmons, kept a clean sheet and happy days. So that penalty by Danny Whitehall going in is just as important as the save by Ross Fitzsimmons towards the end there. And keeping that clean sheet and getting the 3 points.
Yeah, and it's also worth shouting out to the Great Iron Stats, who I know occasionally supplies with a few stats on here, but I don't think they could top the ones that they put out on Twitter earlier, where they talked about it's the first time on record that any Scunthorpe United side has started the season with 3 wins and 3 clean sheets. They've done one or the other before. Sometimes we've started it with 3 wins, sometimes we've started it with 3 clean sheets. But the combination of the two, I think that's going to be really, really key. Just in terms of a bit of a combination of the previous points, Marco, obviously we've talked about clean sheet, we've talked about subs. Last sort of period of the game when we were trying to see out a victory, a certain Mr. Will Evans came on in central midfield. Now, this is a 2-part question, I guess, really, because it sort of half links to a question that Stuart Moore asked us on Facebook, because he was keen for Finn Shrimpton to maybe get a bit more of a run out. But A, do you approve of Will Evans in midfield? Is he the next Perlo? And B, does that send a message to some of the other midfielders who might be trying to get a bit of game time if they see him being played there instead?
A is no. He's definitely not Pirlo. That's the easiest question I've ever had to answer in my life. But no, in all seriousness, I'm not convinced. I've seen people on X saying it was a masterstroke and they love it. When I saw it at Gainsborough, I questioned it then and I'm still questioning it now. And I think the fact that I had the commentary on here, Neil Cox was also questioning it. He said he's great at the long balls, which obviously we've seen him playing centre-half when he can hit that 30, 40-yard pass. Great. He said, but it's the intricate passing and the little nitty-gritty stuff in the centre, especially in front of that back 4. I don't think he's the best at that. I think he's maybe been brought on to see the defence out, possibly drop into a back 5 or even 4 centre-halves to clear the balls. If that's the case, I can fully understand it. But as a CDM, where you want players on a really comfortable player on the ball, it's not for me. It's really not for me. And I love Evans, and I think he's got a case to be starting centre half for sure. But it's not for me. And like you said, the centre mids must be frustrated. But I do think he's coming in purely in a case to do a job rather than being preferred to another centre midfielder, if that makes sense. I think he was just brought on to see the game out, whereas say Shrimpton was on the bench, he wouldn't have done that to the same extent. He hasn't got that physicality or presence. But yeah, I don't like it. And the less I see of it, the better. But look, we said last week in the podcast, I'm not paid to make these decisions. We haven't conceded a goal. So it's obviously working. Maybe I'm just old-fashioned. And I like to see some nice footballers in that CDM spot. But look, to me, he's a centre-back. And I like to see him playing centre-back. But look, I also said the same about Beeston. And he's turned into Ronaldo. So let one may continue. But yeah, I'm baffled. I'm not going to lie.
Is that Brazilian Ronaldo or Portuguese Ronaldo?
It's Brazilian in his prime.
Yes.
Well, he obviously contrasting to Brazilian Ronaldo, he's definitely slimmed down and he looks very fit. Not that obviously he wasn't fat before, but he does look very agile, winning the balls. Even though the first half performance wasn't the greatest on Tuesday, I did think he was the best player on our pitch in the first half. So yeah, look, Butler wants that. I'm a fan of it. So we win. Look, it's so hard to complain when 3 wins, 3 games, 3 wins, and we've not conceded a goal. If you criticise anybody, you're deluded. So yeah, but not for me.
Now, Gareth, obviously Marco's mentioned there about the long balls. We saw some of them, I think, particularly in the opening 20 minutes with Nicholson's long throws. And boy, do I mean long. I mean, I was stood watching the game with my dad, and he was practically salivating. Obviously we've scored from one already this season at home to Marine with a boys flick on. You could see actually that a lot of the Needham Market players and the Needham Market goalkeeper, who for the record was great, by the way. He had good banter with the away fans in the second half, but they didn't like that aerial assault. Do you think that's going to be a big weapon for us as we go on this season?
Yes. And I'm happy that we've got it because it worked well last season for Tamworth with Tom Tonks launching it in. And I just think it's something else to throw into the mix, isn't it? You know, if you've got that long throw, you can get it into the box, get it, the back end of the 6-yard box. It's going to cause issues one way or another. And if we can get 5-6 goals from that throughout the season, then that's a good thing. It just gives the opposition something else to think about when it comes to defending and clearing the lines. Because it's easy to knock it straight back out for a throw. And if that's going to come back straight at you again the same way, then, you want to get it up the pitch. So it just adds another dimension to the game for us as an attacking force.
Yeah, and on a personal level, I've been sick over the last 20 years of every time I see a team come to Bradford Park and they've got this big, massive, long throwing, and your heart drops. So even just for a season, hopefully it may be longer, it's going to be nice to have the boot on the other foot, I think. So as promised, we'll get onto the FPL shortly. Marco's got a crib sheet, and we've got a bit of a cheeky prize, I think, for the funniest team name. So fingers crossed you're listening if you're the winner. But before we get onto that, as mentioned earlier, we've got an exclusive update from Michelle Harness. So thank you to Andrew Dixon on Facebook, who asked us the following question, where he said, quote, "Our wonderful chairwoman was saying in an interview that she was hoping to be clear of debt by the start of the season. Is there any news on that, please? Up the mighty iron." So the Iron Hour podcast sprung into action on that front, and we went direct to Michelle Harness, asking her that very question that Andrew had put to us. And again, Michelle has said, quote, "We are about 200 to 250,000 pounds. That's debt remaining, paying our own bills, chipping away at legacy bills. Selling the shares has and will reduce this." So thank you to Michelle for the update on that. A very, very welcome piece of good news there. Thank you to Andrew for asking us the question as well. Gareth, I know you're often up and around. You sit quite near the important people there on the halfway line. Yeah. You're often in and around the atmosphere in the exec lounge. It seems like on and off the pitch at this moment in time, there's a really good mood around the club.
Yeah. Things are going well. I think the kit launches have helped with that as well. It just seems a positive vibe, and say that debt as well that we've got left to pay off, it's come down loads, which is good. And hopefully, by the middle of the season, it will be tipped away at fully. I know there's lots of other people as well helping clear that debt, like Stuart Moore with his football cards and auctions and things, and like say the shares as well that people can still buy, I believe. So which will also help. So if you've got any spare money and you want to help the club, go get some shares or buy some football cards from Stuart Moore. But no, it's a positive on and off the pitch, and I think it's if we can keep the momentum going with the wins on the pitch, then that will pick up off the pitch as well. It should hopefully bring more people into the ground, bigger crowds. We'll then hopefully spend more money at the club shop, catering points, and it just ultimately that's what it's about, isn't it? Money that the club still need, but so spend your money down at the ground.
Excellent. I think. Go on, Gareth. Go.
But it's a positive. When I'm up there near the director's box, I don't hear anything. I can't give you any inside scoop on anything.
Aww.
Sorry, People's Princess doesn't.
I've tuned into a wrong podcast. I just wanted some inside knowledge. Am I in my wrong podcast here?
I'll make something up if you want.
Podcast. God.
I think you did make an excellent couple of points there. So firstly, on the shares, make no secret of the fact that for my 18th birthday, my dad bought me 5 shares, and honestly, they've been worth absolutely every penny. Even if you've got like a Grimsby supporting brother-in-law, if you want to get him a joke present, one Scunthorpe United share just to spite him, knowing that cash in their name will go into the club's coffers, I think that's an excellent idea. And also the kits. Right now, I'm sporting the third kit, the sort of burnt orange. I've got burnt orange hair as well, so I thought I might as well try and match it with the kit. But on Tuesday night, it was great to see so many home, so many away, so many third kits on sale. So Who made the videos again, Marco? Do you want to plug them?
Well, it's producer Pete. Producer Pete. Aaron's had obviously a big say as well. I can't remember the gentleman who did the soundtrack for the first video, but that was also fantastic.
I think he was called. I think.
What was that? Sorry.
I think he was called Andy, but I could be making that up.
Right, but yeah,
But,
no, like you said, them kit videos.
Well, also as well, Mitchell Blades. He helps with the kit videos as well, so I'll give him a shout as well, definitely.
Definitely, and I believe sort of certainly in the third video, I believe the singer out of Dirty Sterling was involved, giving some inspiring words as well. So it was terrific to see the local connections there. Honestly, producer Pete, Aaron, the whole team, everybody did a fantastic job with them. So it's almost like the professionals, and they do this sort of stuff for a living. But yeah, no, genuinely, a massive well done from all of us, I think. And if you've been living in a cave for the last couple of months and you haven't seen them, do go and check them out. They'll still be on the club's Twitter, the club's Facebook, and yeah, they're definitely worth 10 minutes of your time. Speaking of 10 minutes of your time, Marco, FPL. Let's have some of the highlights.
Right, so week 1. Before we even get started, there are currently 253 active participants in the whole league, with I think 5 more to come in as well. So there's going to be over 258 on game week 2, which is absolutely unbelievable. Whether you're a Scunthorpe fan, we've got mixtures from different teams, and it's fantastic. So yeah, I won't go too far into the scores because I had a little bit of a stinker week 1. But yeah,
hang on. How many points did you get? Are you below or above me? Because I also had a stinker.
Below the full podcast.
Thank God for that.
Melissa won't agree with me, but I normally start quick.
Hey, this is a family-friendly podcast. We'll have none of that.
I do normally get off to quite a good start, but this year is there's still time. There's still time. So, but yeah. So, look, Twitter, we got a little bit of a stick for being, what was it, a banter podcast. Look, we like having fun. I wouldn't tune into a podcast and not have fun, so that's not going to change. We got accused of being those cheeky Nandos sort of guys. So we decided to do a little competition, and that is the person with the funniest team name in the whole of out of all 253 teams is going to actually win a Nando's voucher.
Well, hey, can't knock it.
Yeah, and after a lot of thinking, we think we've found the best one, don't we? So hopefully he does listen to the podcast. He's not just joined the league. To be fair, he could actually be a member, a different fan. So we are giving it to this person at first. If they don't collect it in a certain amount of time, we maybe draw another because we did have 3 good contenders. So the winner is
drum roll, please.
I won't mention points because he's near the bottom. He's in 244. But the winner tonight, although not with points, is Cholee Yugoslavia, which I think is absolutely fantastic. Those old enough to remember Cholee Yuga. He was absolutely brilliant. I think we had him at the same time as Damien Mazika, which was
he was before Mazika. Yeah, Yuga was first season in the championship. Right. Got him from Charlton.
That was it. A couple of French players who I enjoyed that. But yeah, so the winner is Cholee Yugoslavia. It's Michael Wright. I won't mention how many points you got this week because it's even less than me. But yeah, so you will receive a voucher if you get in touch with us any means necessary, whether that be X, through Facebook. If you see one of us at games, just grab us. If you want to really grab Matt's quite hard, that's fine as well.
Well, if it's, I know it's a bit of a common name, but if it's the Michael Wright, I know who's Archie's dad. He's a London and South East Supporters Club member, so right. And lives near Milton Keynes, so I'm sure they'd be able to get good use out of the cheeky Nando's voucher. So
hence the Charlton connection. That's maybe it.
Yeah. So if unless there is another Michael Wright, but if it's that Michael Wright, congratulations, well done.
So yeah, but again, like I said, top of the league this week is Aliou Kassa, and his team name is also Aliou Kassa. with a huge 96 points. Also, without a triple captain again, he just had everybody who did well, which is the bottom line of FPL, I suppose. But yeah, again, just coming back to my first point, 253 people in a little FPL league for this podcast. It's fantastic. So yeah.
Like and obviously, you mentioned that there was a few other funny names for other teams as well. Mark, are there any other ones you want to give a shout out to?
Second place, I can't say. Second place, well, the one that I really enjoyed was Robin Williams.
And whose team was that?
I forgot whose name it was, but look, you had my vote. I really enjoyed that. I genuinely can't find it, but I'm sure the guy knows who it will be. A lot of Hawk Tour references.
Very good.
Yeah, they seem to be quite in fashion this year. Backstreet Boys I quite enjoyed, but yeah, they're all great. And look, there's going to be prizes and competition throughout the season, so it's definitely worth staying on top of, even if you're like me and are absolutely crap. So yeah, but yeah, that's FPL. Well done to the Kelly Yugoslavias and Michael Wright. You have won the voucher.
Excellent. And yeah, I think on a personal one, I quite liked Iron Army, Gareth's very original team name. Becky, who's a very good friend of the podcast, she's gone, dude, where's my car? But it's spelt like Micah Richards, so it's dude, where's Micah?
No, that's a part. How's she not done it with a double R, Stephen Carr? Am I?
They're both right backs. Is that okay? But a good film reference. But yeah, I think for Scunthorpe United trivia and for sadly no longer with us Balkan country, I dare say quite a few people listening to this pod may not have been around, may not have been alive when Yugoslavia was a country. But yeah, a very good choice there by Marco, I think. So excellent. That's FPL. We'll be giving updates most weeks, I think. So do keep checking your teams. Do make changes if you need to. I know my team for the first week didn't work out quite as well as I'd hoped. So you're not alone if you're down near the bottom. But yeah, thank you very much, Marco, for the update. And that brings us nicely on to previewing Saturday. Home to Chorley, big game. Obviously, they were up near the top of the table, in and around the playoffs for large parts of last season. Gareth, how are you feeling it's going to go this Saturday?
Once again, a tough game. I think all games are going to be tough, aren't they? But it's a case of just playing our game and not pandering to their game. As we don't need to change our style or anything like that. Chase their style. But yeah, no, I think we'll get through it. I think we'll even get a clean sheet, as well. I know, but I'm just, they've scored 3 goals. Is it 3 goals? I think, all season so far. So I just think that we've got, the defense, the goalkeeper, the midfield. I'd like to think that we can keep another clean sheet. Yeah, it'll be difficult, but and they're going to want to obviously come and throw a spanner in the works of our good start. And Andy Butler getting manager of the week, was it, as well? So, I think, they're just going to come out there and get a point at least. They've had an indifferent start. I think they've won 1 draw and 1 lost 1. So, the last game they lost, conceding in the last minute against Scarborough. So, they're conceding goals. So, yeah, why not? Why not? I think, we've got enough about us to, get the 3 points. So, yeah, I'm going for a clean sheet and a win for us.
Oh, okay. So what you go? 1-0, 2-0, 3-0? What's your prediction?
2-0. I'll go 2-0.
Very good, very good. And as you say, they did concede an injury time goal to Scarborough, which on the supporters bus on the way back from Needham Market made a certain Harry Parker very, very happy as it won him more than 200 quid on his accumulator. So on behalf of Harry, I'd just like to say thank you very much, Scarborough. Marco, obviously Gareth's mentioned there that Andy Butler's won this season's first National League North Manager of the Week. 3 wins, 3 clean sheets. Can't really argue with that. Will it be a curse? Will it be the old manager of the month curse coming back to strikers, or do you think we'll get over the line like Gareth says?
Yeah, no. I mean, if you depict anybody else, it'd have been a travesty. It's a perfect start. It would have been mad for him not to win it. But no, I am agreeing with Gareth because again, we can only go for what we've seen. We look very solid. Obviously, barring the last 10 against Needham Market the other day. I don't know if it's negative. I think we win, but I do think we concede. I think that might
go.
Yeah, I'm going 3-1 Iron. I know Cholee lost the other day, but I think Scarborough are going to be right up there at the end of the year. I really do. And yeah, I've got a really bad feeling that Richie Bennett's going to have a really good season.
Or at least 2 great games against us.
Yeah, I just think they've got a good squad. I've never got a bad injury to death. The name has eluded me, but I think Scarborough are going to be bang up there. So to lose to them, I don't think's really that big a deal. But yeah, I'm going 3-1. Carlton coming back into the squad, possibly. The last game of his ban against his former club. That'll be interesting. Whether he makes that 5, like we said, this is 5 now, so would it be harsh to drop Fishburn? You'd assume that'd be the name that changed with it's like for like. But yeah, I'm going 3-1 Iron. So I can't believe I'm being negative by saying we're conceding, but yeah. A win's a win. Look, I'm happy to win every game 1-0, 9-8. I don't care.
If we win 9-8, it'll be a hell of a next podcast. That's all I'm going to say. I'll put a slight twist on your negativity, Marco, in that I do think we will keep a clean sheet, but I could potentially see it being 0-0. I thought we struggled a little bit in open play on Tuesday, and if Chorley come here and they pack 9 or 10 behind the ball, when you're playing Saturday, Tuesday, it'd be really interesting to see if we can break them down. But yeah, no, gun to my head, I'll go 0-0. But I thought you made a really interesting point in terms of Scarborough's decent start to the season. They're currently in 5th. They've taken 7 points from their opening 3 games, so 2 wins and a draw. We've got them towards I believe it's September the 21st. So if we can keep this, Marco's punching the air. He's thinking about the 8 a.m. pints in Scarborough Wetherspoons already.
I wasn't able to go, and I know Stop the Affiliates is a big listener. I've had a cancellation, so I'm now free for the day. So it will be an 8 a.m. train. I will be in Scarborough. Probably won't remember the game, but looking forward to it nevertheless.
Well, no matter what happens at the game, I'll be sure to tell you. But no, and that brings us very, very nicely onto the Q&A, because you hinted at one of the questions that we got from a regular listener, which is Donna. So thank you very much to Donna for sending in the question. She asks, with Carlton coming from a 3-match ban, would you start him on Saturday? Would you start him, Gareth, or would you have him on the bench, or would you not even have him in the squad?
It's a hard one, isn't it? How can you can't start him. There's no way you can just throw him straight in for me. With the players that we've got out there, the performances in, getting the wins, clean sheets and what have you. I can't see how he can be thrown straight in. And even for the bench as well, it's a tough one. Like Marco said, would it be like for like with Fishburn? I think that's the only way to get on the bench. And so, what do you do? I'd put him on the bench. I would put him on the bench
instead of Fishburn.
No.
Oh, okay.
Law.
Get out of this podcast right now.
Well, it'll certainly be very interesting because obviously Andy Butler's post-match interview after the Needham Market game with BBC Radio Humberside, he talked about why they'd sort of made a couple of changes, talked about like the GPS and the fitness data and the methodology as to why they didn't start Cal Roberts in particular. So it'd be very interesting to see as to whether or not he comes back into the side. But if you have a bench that theoretically could be Fishburn, Carlton, and Cal Roberts, well, if you need a goal in the last half an hour, there's a lot of attacking options there, Marco, isn't there? Oh, go on, Gareth. No, you were going to jump in there.
I just think, if we're bringing someone with 30 minutes to go, his injection of pace could be massive. If other teams are getting tired, Cholee being defending, sitting back, getting tired, I just think that extra input of pace will be massive for us. So that's, I think, why I'd have him on the bench for definite impact sub.
And I think it feels very fitting that theoretically his first competitive game for the Iron is going to be against his old club. Marco, very quickly, start, bench, not in the squad.
Bench for Fishburn. I'm being harsh. I quite like Fishburn. It's a harsh drop-in. But that bench is very cutthroat this year. And we need our best players on it.
Fair enough. Can't argue with that. So I'm just going down the list of questions here that we got sent in. Thanks again to Andrew. We mentioned yours. Answer we got from Michelle. So thank you very much to Michelle for answering the podcast inquiry as well. It was a good update. Stuart Moore, friend of the podcast, as Gareth has mentioned, he's got a question for Barra. Well, Barra isn't here, so I promise we'll come back to it in the next podcast, Stu. And thank you for all you're doing with the club with the fundraising. Damien Bolton asks a very interesting question, and I suspect I might know Marco's answer based on what he said earlier. Who do you think will be our bogey team this season? Who do you reckon, Gareth?
You know what? Ourselves.
Oh, what a clever answer.
Well, no, I just think, we've just got to keep our feet on the ground. If we get carried away, if we have another couple of wins and we start getting carried away, I think that could be a big problem. So I just think that we need to keep grounded and not get carried away and just take each game as it comes.
My God, he's rolling out all the cliches here, isn't he?
No, but I genuinely think we could be our biggest problem if we let things get on. If say we go on a run of 2-3 defeats, it's not happening. But if it did, then I think the fans would get on the players' backs and everything like that. I just think that would affect the players, and I just think we've got to be sensible in what we do, in how we approach games, and we are being. But we've got to keep that up from the 43 games, and I just think that we could be our own weakness. I don't think there's any other teams that can, well, there will Kidderminster possibly, but I don't know if there'll be a bogey team for us.
So, Marco, I'm thinking back to last season. I'm thinking Buxton took 4 points off us, theoretically 7 points, I suppose, if you count the abandoned game. Curzon took 6 points off us, albeit under farcical weather conditions for the away game. You're not allowed to answer that will be our own worst enemy. Give me a proper answer. Yeah, who do you think could be our bogey team this season?
I'm not media trained like Gareth. But yeah, look, if you'd asked me at the start of the season, Brackley would have been a shout. And look how wrong that would have been. So yeah, I do think Scarborough have just built a side. Look, I've never seen a score against Ryan Whitley. He seems to be our bogey goalkeeper. As soon as he plays against Scunthorpe, turns into Brian Buffon. So look, I do think Scarborough will have a good season. They'd be my team. But yeah, like you said, there's a lot of coming to Gareth's point. I think he has got a very good point. Going off what I've heard from Butler in the interviews, it said I think he's definitely the right man in charge to not let them players get ahead of themselves. And again, not get too downbeat. If we do, we are obviously inevitably going to lose a game. And I think he's probably the right man to do. I don't think he'll let him get carried away.
So I think Scarborough's a fair shout. Again, had quite a funny moment with my dad when we were watching Scarborough. He turned around and said, "I've been to," including the old ground, so I've been to Scarborough 5 times now, and I still haven't seen his effing score. So if nothing else, even if we only get another draw there this season, let's hope it's like a 2-2 or a 3-3 classic. I have my doubts, but I think we can all live in hope. So thank you to Damien Bolton for that excellent question. Next one is from Michael Hale, Gareth, who says the Irons' number 1 target is promotion, but do you think we should also aim to have a healthy FA Cup run and hope a lucky dip in the 3rd round bracket financial reasons?
It would be nice, but like you said as well, that promotion is the main aim. And if having a cup run will detract from promotion, then no, I'd rather get knocked out in the qualifying rounds. But no, it would be nice to have a cup run. In all fairness, we've not had one for a while. So, the chance of getting a plum tie in the third round would be very welcome. But like I said, I don't want to detract from the main aim, which is getting out of this league.
Yeah, and I think probably an important point as well is fixture congestion. Unfortunately, because of the league that we're in, if we're to try to get to the third round of the FA Cup, we're going to have at least 5 games. We've got the second, the third, the fourth qualifying rounds, and then the first and the second rounds proper. That's before any replays. Marco, would you like a good cup run?
Yes, and that's because of the statement you read earlier from Michelle regarding my debt. If we can get a nice away tie or something on telly, just to ease any financial stress on the club, that'd be great. From a selfish point of view, I'd say no, because look, I just want to be out of this league. We want to be promoted. But if it can go hand in hand, then so be it. It would be fantastic. It's a tough one. The thing is, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer there. It's nobody knows.
And I think as well, it can be quite good for the morale. As Gareth mentioned, we haven't had a real good cup run for quite a while now. So whether or not it's the FA Cup or the FA Trophy, spurred on by the question, we did a little bit of research for the podcast in terms of the financial benefits. So if you win the FA Trophy, it's £110,000 in prize money total. See, that doesn't include ticket gates. Realistically, if you said reach the second round of the FA Cup, in terms of the prize money, you'd be looking at about £65,000. However, again, that doesn't include the ticket money. If you've got, even in the FA Trophy, if potentially you've got a good tie at home to Oldham, Rochdale, Hartlepool, a side that's not bringing 50 or 60 away fans, but potentially 500 or 600, or heaven forbid if you got to the first round and like Marco said, you got quite a juicy away tie somewhere decent, somewhere in League One, then I think Michelle and the club's accountants would very much like an extra payday or two. So excellent question, Michael. Thank you very much. So that brings us on to another question, this time from Jamie Brace, who asks something that we've discussed before, but I think is probably going to be relevant going on to the season. So we'll try and answer these as quickly as we possibly can. Marco, what would your ideal formation be and starting 11 with the current squad? Go.
Oh. Will Evans CDM for sure. It's really tough because I'd like to see Carlton, I'd like to see Law, but I think I would go with the same side that started away at Brackley. I was actually stood with Jamie that game, so he knows the team, but I think it was Fitzsimmons. So we've got Denton, Boyce, Coogan, Nicholson, and then Barrows at right wing back, which he showed he could do. It was Clunan. Who was alongside Clunan?
Scales, that's
the one. Clunan, Scales, then Roberts, Danny Whitehall, and I'm missing one, and it's going to do my head.
Alfie.
There we go. Based off a double goal scorer. I did like that, and I think that's where we look most comfortable. That's what I'd like to see. I do think the formation and the personnel will vary throughout the season. Like, look, I've not mentioned Law, Carlton, and a number of players there. So, but even Brogan looked a bit out of sorts on Tuesday, but I do think he's a real player, and even Rowley. So, like I said, there's a lot of competition for places.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good answer. Glenn Lowe has followed this with trying to get his money worth. He sent us 3 questions, but I'm very happy to say we've already answered 2 of them. He asked us, are we convinced on Adams at CDM? Marco gave his halfpenny and said, not as a long-term passing option, but to see out long balls, dropping back into maybe being an extra centre-half, he can live with it. I hope that's a fair assessment. Glenn also asked, how many goals do we think Boyce will get off those long throws? Gareth said that he thought even if the long throws just got us 5 or 6 over the course of the season, that would be great. Boyce isn't the only target, but I think given the positions he's been taking up, particularly at the front post against Marine, if we score 5 or 6, I'd probably fancy Boyce for 3 or 4 of them. And he then asks one for you here, Gareth, I think. Where's Roberts' best position in the current formation?
Well, going on Tuesday night, one thing I noticed, because he obviously didn't start, but Barrows at right back or right wing back seemed isolated at times. Now, in the previous 2 games at Brackley and Marine, Roberts has dropped back and helped him out quite a lot. And I thought it was quite telling that Roberts wasn't on the pitch and Barrows seemed to be struggling. I think Needham Market picked up on that. Because a lot came down there left-hand side, our right-hand side. So yeah, I like him on the right-hand, as not a wing back, but wherever he slots in, just dropping back and helping Barrows out, because I think Barrows missed that the other night, that protection. I don't think Brogan offered it the same at all.
Yeah, there we go, Glenn. I think that's an excellent answer to your question. So if we're playing a central midfield 3, we Roberts on the right to help Barrows or whoever the right wing back is with an extra bit of defensive protection, but also a bit like how we did for the penalty, running at defenders, getting a little bit of space on the right hand flank, trying to get one-on-one with a full back. Excellent question. Thank you very much for that, Glenn. One here for you, Marco, from Neil Hudson, which is a potentially a transfer-based question. Are there any areas of the squad you think we need to strengthen the team, or would you stick with what we have?
Obviously, you're always going to want to sign extra players. Who doesn't? But I think a lot was telling the fact that we didn't give the names gone. The young lad, the striker we had on trial at the club, who's obviously gone to Macclesfield. I think the fact that we couldn't offer him a contract probably says where we are at with signing players. I think we've probably done all our business now. And look, I think we've got a lot more depth than other teams in this league as it is. So I think we're okay. Look, you've got Whitehall, Fishburner's back up, but you've also got Carlton who could play up there. Midfield, I think we're pretty stacked. You're only arguing to maybe a right back with Barrows, but Scales has looked really confident in that role too. So now I do think we've got enough. I don't think there's any excuses.
Yeah, I think in terms of any business to be done over the next 2 or 3 months, I see Gareth nodding as well. For me, it would probably only be if there was a key injury in key positions where we perhaps don't have cover. So, like if Barrows picked up a knock, for example, we probably would be in the market for a full back, I think, or heaven forbid Fitzsimmons or Whitehall. There's probably other areas where we do have a little bit of cover. I'd be more okay if we picked up an injury in central midfield, for example. I do think we have got enough strength in depth there. Probably the same for centre half as well, actually. Yeah. Particularly as you would have 4 at the back available as an option as well. But yeah, I think we're all agreed there. I'm seeing the lads nodding anyway, Neil. So I hope that answers your question, mate. Gareth, we've got a question from James Joyner, the Iron fan. Links maybe a little bit in terms of what we were saying in terms of the bogey teams, but also the other teams who've made a strong start. James asks, who do you think will be the main challengers for the title this season? Brackets, assuming we count ourselves in there.
I think we've got to count ourselves in there, haven't we, after the start we've had? But you'd expect Kidderminster to be up there. In all fairness, Marco spoke about Scarborough. They've had a great start as well. I know Chester, I had them to win the league in the prediction that we did. I know they've not had the greatest of starts, but I'm still expecting them to be up there, up and about there, Brackley as well.
Anybody you want to chuck in, Marco?
No, I think he's bang right. I didn't have us as a contender. Didn't have us as a contender at the start of the season, but like Gareth said, it's hard to not look at us as a contender at the minute. I'm still going. I think it's not this Tuesday. I think it's one after we play Kidderminster at home, or is that Friday night now?
Friday night, 30th.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a really good indicator to see what chance we've got of actually winning the league. Because I think they're a bookie's favourite for a reason. I think it's going to be a really good game.
Yeah, I completely agree with what the lads said there, and I would probably say to Iron fans to at least not yet. We can give it another month or two, but don't sleep on Brackley just yet. Because whilst they are 17th, they've only won one of their 3 games. Their start to the season has been rancid. Their first 3 games have been us, Chester, and Kidderminster. And their one win over those 3 was they did go away to Chester and beat them, which under normal circumstances for any side in this league would be a really good result. So, there's 46 games in total. There's still 43 left to go. So, we'll see who's up there with us. Go on, Marco.
Is that a Max Bell tip of the day?
No, but I think I did have. I think I had Brackley winning the league in my pre-season prediction. So that's me just trying to string everyone along to say that I wasn't totally talking out of my arse.
After this podcast, I'm going to check the odds now. Right, Max has told me Brackley.
Okay. Or I don't know if the bookies are doing a book on them still getting into the playoffs. I think that would be a good price at least. So Leon asked us, who do we think our toughest game will be? I think we sort of answered that one earlier in terms of the potentially the bogey team. Marco said Scarborough. Gareth said we'd be our own worst enemy. So make of that what you will. And then the great Doug Parker, the great institution, asked Gareth a trains question. Gareth, what is the top speed of a Class 66?
It depends what the line speed is, but you can go 5 miles an hour on the East Coast main line.
How fast was that on the East Coast main line?
75 miles per hour.
75, and is that then when there's like the train conk out at that point and all the alarms start flashing?
Yeah, just after, if you go over that, it cuts the engine out, cuts the power off, and you wonder what's happened as a driver.
Well, there we go. Doug, or anybody else for that matter, if you're driving a Class 66 anytime soon, don't go above 75 miles an hour. Well, thank you very much, everyone. It's certainly been an entertaining evening for us. We've come up to nearly our name of the Iron Hour podcast. So thank you to everyone who's listening. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed making it. If you have any questions for next podcast, hopefully Barry will be back by then. But yeah, do bung us a question on X, on Facebook, when you see us at a game. I know the 3 of us, the 4 of us will be at games coming fast and forward. So do say hello anytime you want. And that's it for us. So up the iron.
Up the iron.